on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and today we're going to be talking about the zombie updates that Treyarch didn't tell you about, some new features, plus even more. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like, and also as a reminder, we got plenty of brand new content going up over on detonated.com for those that want additional coverage for multiplayer, Warzone, and zombies. Plus, we got plenty of tweets every single hour on Detonated's Twitter. I want to thank all you guys yet again for all the support on my recent coverage with the launch of our mid-season 2 update. There was so much to get through for multiplayer, Warzone, and zombies, and in my recent video, we talked about all the hidden changes over in multiplayer. That's going to be linked down below, but today we're going to be focused on zombies. Now, I'm aware there's a lot of rumors that just surfaced about future zombies content for season 3 and beyond. We're going to be saving all that for some separate videos I have planned later this week, but let's start off with the implications of the recent cutscene from our new Act 4 mission. So, the cutscene itself wasn't quite as intense as the recent one that we got with season 1. It was still a pretty interesting cutscene though, a conversation between Ravenoff and Ava, and I do want to mention the very end of that cutscene does once again tease the plot that we may be looking at inside of Black Ops 2024. It's heavily implied that Ravenoff knows Ava's parents, and it does look like one of her parents is somebody from Requiem that we saw in Cold War, so it's unclear what that is setting up, but there's very clearly a lot of teasers being thrown at us as to what the direction is going to be for a 90s era zombie story, which is going to serve as a prequel to MW3 zombies. So I'm loving the fact that we're kind of putting together the pieces of the puzzle, and I'll probably make some separate story videos soon, but I do think whatever we end up seeing in Black Ops 2024 is not only going to blow our minds, but will weave in the arc that we're currently seeing in the early to mid 2020s. It's going to weave all that together perfectly and tell an even stronger narrative for the Dark Ether story. Now, although it was confirmed a little while back in the season 2 creator call that we're not going to be seeing any new enemy types or perks added to MWZ, they could always surprise us later. Keep that in mind, it's always subject to change. We still did get what is close to 2 new bosses somewhat inside of our new Act 4 mission. We got what you could consider EMP variants or just alternate HVTs for the Mimic and even for the Mangler, which I think were cool to experience. I mean, you could still get vibes of exo zombies from Advanced Warfare with how annoying these EMP zombies can get. If you're too close to the enemy, you'll get shocked, and as you would experience in multiplayer or even Warzone, you'll start firing your weapon everywhere and you're kind of moving uncontrollably. So that's what happens when you go up against the EMP Mimic or the EMP Mangler. Luckily, they haven't been implemented in any other aspect of MWZ, so you're not going to see these in random contracts on Urzikstan. You're not going to see them at all either in the Dark Ether Rift, whether it's the regular or Elder Sigil version of the new experience. Speaking of bosses, we did get a new Warlord boss added onto Urzikstan, and as of right now, she can be found over at the Orlov military base in the Kill House section of this point of interest, and for the next couple of days, this is the only Warlord you could encounter while playing MWZ. Legacy and Dokkaebi are going to be brought back probably the next week or whatnot, and you'll see a rotation every time you spawn in with a chance of going up against Legacy or Dokkaebi or the Carries Warlord. Not sure why they don't just have all 3 in a single game at once, just to ensure that multiple teams can actually go ahead and defeat a Warlord if, let's say, another random squad gets to the Warlord before you do. But when it comes to Carries, not only is it a relatively easy boss, I mean, it's kind of like a DMZ update going up against a new Warlord. There aren't really any zombies in the room either. You'll see a few here and there, maybe roaming around, but it's kind of just a DMZ update. Watch out for gas, traps, sentry guns, and AI roaming the area. Once you take down Carries, you'll notice that you'll now get a Wonder Weapon case. So as a bit of an overhaul to MWZ, every time you kill a Warlord inside of the game, you will end up getting a Wonder Weapon case. This was the change that we've been needing for the Warlord system, right? When Dokkaebi got added in Season 1 Reloaded, which was a little while ago now, nothing happened. We defeated Dokkaebi, and you don't get anything from the reward of it, just random loot. And obviously, you'll get the blueprint that Warlord was holding, not to unlock and use in other modes, but just to exfil with and use again in zombies. That's it. And that was a really lackluster update to most of the zombies community, so luckily they've finally given us a reason to go back and defeat a Warlord if you've already beaten the Act mission, which requires you to do so. Now, before we continue, I just wanted to remind you about MitchCactus.com, where you can get assistance grinding camos, nukes, or schematics in MW3. These guys do not use unlock tools or any bannable methods and will actually help you play the game. Mitch Cactus is also supported by Trustpilot with over 10,000 verified reviews. You can use code Dynamite for a limited time to save 5% off your order. So hey, if you guys want to go and farm up Wonder Weapon cases, an easy way to do it is just defeating the Warlord whenever you spawn into Urzikstan. But something else that Treyarch really didn't tease or even feature in the patch notes is the fact that there is a 115 music Easter egg in our brand new Dark Aether Rift. You can complete this in either the new Act 4 mission or when you go into the Rift via a Sigil or Elder Sigil. And you'll notice that familiar sound when you're up against a certain object you need to interact with to activate a music Easter egg. And there's just 3 meteors you need to interact with. Obviously 115 doesn't exist in the new Dark Aether story, but you could say it's not canon that we're finding 115 rocks inside of the Dark Aether, unless it is, and it's something that's left over from the prior universe. I know everything got collapsed at the end of Tag Their Totem. Maybe there's leftovers and remnants of the past here that we're finding, but upon interacting with all 3 meteors, which aren't that far from one another here near the soccer stadium, you'll end up hearing an instrumental for the classic song 115. This was a jam that we saw in Kingdom of the Totem all the way back in Black Ops 1. We're talking 14 years ago, but the song still sounds just as good as ever, although it just is an instrumental here inside of MW3. Still cool to hear it nonetheless, but figured I'd bring that up for those out there that weren't aware there is a music Easter egg in our new Dark Aether map. But something that also really surprised us when going through the patch notes for our mid-season 2 update is the fact that containment levels, aka Exfil streaks, were finally added into the game. These leaked out a good, I think, 2 months ago along with a wallet system. These are things that we already had in DMZ, which should have been in this game at launch, or at the very least could have been added in during Season 1 when things got a bit dry, or even at the start of Season 2, because although Season 2 was a zombies themed season, we didn't see any content for zombies for the beginning of the season, and we had to wait until just now with Reloaded to get some zombie updates. But I think some quality of life updates such as these containment levels would have been perfect a couple of weeks ago, but better late than never. So as they wrote in the patch notes, a new tiered Exfil streak system is immediately available to all players with the download of Season 2 Reloaded. So complete contracts and successfully Exfil from the EZ to increase your containment level up to 100 across 10 different tiers. So your rewards will increase as your containment level does, and yes, all the rewards are stackable, thank God. So as you can see, you get rewards like being able to spawn with 500 essence, 5 armor plates, 1000 essence, 30% discount on Coca-Cola machines starting with 1500 points, 30% bonus on contract essence rewards start with 2500 points, then 5000, 50% discount on mystery box costs, and lastly 20% discount on pack-a-punch costs. These are actually pretty substantial rewards that do improve the pacing of your match, and I think are definitely worth grinding, especially if you have more than 3 strike team slots and you want to grind different containment levels or all of them for each one of those slots. Now, as with everything, there's a catch. So unfortunately, if you unsuccessfully exfil, you'll be knocked back a single tier in your containment level. You don't lose the whole thing like you saw in DMZ, where if you died once after having a max exfil streak of 10, you'd lose everything. You only lose one single tier here for containment levels, but there is something that I believe is intentional, and that's something that Detonated just reported on a good couple of days ago. The fact that if you go ahead and exfil farm in your match of zombies, that'll count as a failed exfil. So if you call it an exfil chopper, farm the zombies for camo grinding, then do that again, maybe rinse and repeat 3-4 times in that match to keep spawning in more and more zombies, that'll count as multiple failed exfils, which will keep knocking back your containment levels several tiers. Now, there is a bug, however, that I don't believe is intentional, and that is the fact that for those that are exfilling from the Dark Aether rifts, they're also losing containment levels. That is being investigated as of right now and should be fixed soon. I do think they're trying to ensure good server stability by decreasing the amount of exfil farming that is happening in each match. It's not the way the game was designed, nor is it the way that they want players to behave like. That's why I've been saying we need an onslaught type of mode inside of MWZ so that people out there can farm their kills and grind their camos inside of a mode that's not the extraction one. And then from there, you'll see less and less people going into Big Urzikstan to grind their camos out. Not that you shouldn't be able to, but if people out there are crashing other folks' games because they're exfil farming, then that's definitely a problem, and it's honestly an oversight when introducing a camo system into an extraction shooter like this. But as I mentioned in my recent multiplayer video, you're able to track your challenges now when you're in game. So if you just hit pause, you can see what challenges you're currently working on. You can track up to 5 at a time. Obviously, it already shows you your daily challenges by default, but now you can track any other challenge that you want, the weeklies, your camo ones. It's really cool that you can now track that while in game instead of having to back out because maybe you forgot what the challenge was that you're currently working on. You can just see that. And yes, that does work in zombies. It's not just multiplayer or Warzone. You can also track your challenges for zombies. But additionally, in the patch notes, in case you guys missed it, they have some adjustments here, as you can see. With the Ether Worms, Greylorn will no longer follow players to the final exfil. They also address multiple instances where zombies will be unable to target or follow a player, and you can no longer activate a dog bone while in water. Friendly Hellhounds express their discomfort with being summoned underwater. They also made sure that all the new weapons that got added in Season 2 have been added to the loot pool and could be found in lockers, crates, even the mystery box, but they went ahead and sadly nerfed the Ram 9, but they also addressed an issue that prevented players from infilling with the Opus and Triggerfinger Basilisk blueprints. elements. They then closed an exploit that allowed players to become invulnerable while using the Juggernaut kill streak. This is an important one considering that we now have Jug skins coming to the game via the Warhammer bundles. You're going to want to probably run those inside of MWZ, so luckily they fixed that bug. And they also addressed an issue where contract UI elements would disappear if a player left the squad while the contract was active. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on all the brand new zombie updates that Treyarch really didn't tell you about, unless you missed some of them in the patch notes? There were some cool surprises that we got to encounter when jumping into the game for the first time. Leave your thoughts down below on the containment levels, the Warlord overhaul, and even our quote-unquote new bosses. Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.